So today I decided to make a video talking about my favorite Classroom of the Elite story arcs. Now these arcs are very important to the story because they do a lot of things in this series. They show a lot of character development, also really good moments, etc. But before we begin, I need to address, spoiler alert, if you haven't finished first year of Classroom of the Elite, I highly suggest you continue reading it because I am going to spoil a few moments that happen in the first year of Classroom of the Elite. And second, I am only going to be reviewing the story arcs of first year. I'm only going to be ranking my top 5 favorite from first year of Classroom of the Elite. So if you want second year story arcs or second year Classroom of the Elite arcs, sadly I'm not going to be talking about those because A, I haven't finished second year yet. I'm currently just finishing volume 1 of second year, and B, second year hasn't even been completed yet. I believe the new volume that has come out is I think volume 7 of second year, so it still has a long way to go before second year is finished. So with that out of the way, let's just begin. So coming in at number 5 is the end of the year 1 arc. This is pretty much the ending of first year. Once Anakoji has pretty much dealt with the obstacles that is first year, now he's going to be moving to second year. And this arc was in volume 11.5, and this is pretty much the final arc for first year, and I really enjoyed it because we got to see a lot of character conclusions in this arc. Like for example, Manabu got his finishing character arc. We finally got to see what kind of person Manabu is and how he left a great impact, and then not just Anakoji's life, but also in his sister's life, Horikita. There's just a lot of moments in which we clearly saw what kind of person Manabu is and that he's actually a pretty good person. That being said, we also saw character developments from characters that we were also expecting to have huge character developments, and this arc pretty much showed Horikita having the biggest character development in this arc. She finally realized that her way of thinking was completely wrong. She got to fix her relationship with her brother, which was something that she was always wanting to happen. She always wanted to have a good relationship with her brother. And in terms of other things that happened in this arc, we also got to see Anakoji express his feelings for Kei, which is, these two characters' interactions throughout first year was just really something good to see. We got to see how they interacted. They got a ton of character development throughout the series. So yeah, I was extremely happy to see Anakoji and Kei actually start a relationship because it's very clear that these two have a lot of things in common. But what I also enjoyed about this arc was just the vibe that it gave. It pretty much gave us while first year is over doesn't mean it's going to be over yet. There's still second year, and that's what I like about it, is the fact that it makes you want to keep reading the next volumes of Classroom of the Elite, because this arc pretty much just says even though first year has finished, second year is starting, and Anakoji still has to deal with a lot of things in this high school. And that is why this is at number 5. And coming in number 4 is the Classroom voting expulsion arc. This is pretty much volume 10. This is where Anakoji and his class had to pretty much expel someone from their class because of this special exam. Because as it turns out, it seems that there hasn't been any first years expelled. So of course, this exam was created to expel some people. No one was in favor of this. Not even the teachers. They expressed in this arc that they had no desires to make this exam, but of course they have to follow school protocols, so this exam takes place. And here we see Anakoji trying to figure out, well, at first he doesn't really try to do anything, but then he realizes that he's being a target in his class. It seems that someone's trying to get him expelled. So of course he has to take action to make sure that he doesn't get expelled. There's just a lot of moments that I can't name every single one because a lot of stuff happens. This arc gets really crazy. My favorite part about the arc was when Horikita just straight up, exposes who the person is trying to expel Anakoji for a particular reason. And this person is Yamauchi, which, let me get this out of the way. Yamauchi is probably the worst character I've seen in Classroom of the Elite, and that's saying something because I really have no issues with other characters, but for some reason Yamauchi is the only character in this series that I really didn't like, and I'm kind of glad that he got exposed for him trying to get Anakoji expelled. Now, as it turns out, he only did this because Sakinagi told him to do it, because apparently he had some sort of thing for Sakinagi, even though at this point it was very obvious that Sakinagi was a person you should be really careful of, and you should really be careful what she says or does, because it's very clear that she hides her true colors. But Yamauchi's not the smartest person, and there's just a lot of things that this character also does and says that really just irritates me, but that's for a separate topic in and of itself. But yeah, as it turns out, Yamauchi was the one trying to get Anakoji expelled. Unfortunately, this plan fails and he gets expelled himself, which I found it kind of hilarious how he was boasting how he was going to win, but then as a result he lost. So once he showed kind of his ego, I really didn't care if he got expelled. And also another moment in this arc that was really interesting was Hirata actually losing his cool. Hirata did not want anybody from the class being expelled, even though it was kind of impossible because this test was pretty much going to make someone get expelled no matter what, unless you had a bunch bunch of points so you can save that person. But other than that, someone was gonna get expelled. And when Horikita was exposing Yamauchi, Hirata was losing his cool, and that was a very interesting moment as well. We got to see a different side of Hirata, because if you watch the series or read the light novels, you would know that Hirata is usually the cool-headed person. He doesn't always have any moments where he's completely angry, but in this situation it was different because it was very clear he was not having it. He was clearly pissed off. And those are just a few moments that happened in this arc. I mean, there's just a lot of highlights in this arc that I could go on and on and on, but this video will probably be like an hour long. So Classroom Expulsion arc, ranking number 4, and coming in at number 3, we have the Sports Festival arc. I think the reason why I enjoyed the Sports Festival arc is not just because, you know, there's sports events or stuff like that. No, it's because we got to see what Anakoji is capable of. During the final event, which is I think like the relay race, it was Manabu versus Anakoji, and Anakoji tells Manabu that he's gonna give it his all, and he actually does it. He actually runs really fast that pretty much the entire classes are in shock that Anakoji run this fast, which was very clear that at this point people were going to see Anakoji very differently, and some people were actually going to start focusing on Anakoji, which I mean that's just pretty much one of the highlights of this arc. We got to see what Anakoji is capable of and what he is when he gives it all, when he's actually being serious. It wasn't just that, it was also the whole plot with Ryuen, which was very clear that Ryuen was scheming. He was having some sort of plan in order for him to win in this sports festival. I mean, it was very clear that Ryuen will do anything to win, and that is playing dirty as well. So that's another thing about this arc, is that we got to see what Ryuen will do in order to win. And overall, I think Ryuen is just one of my favorite characters in this series. So whenever he has the spotlight, it's always a roller coaster because we don't know what he's going to do next. So Sports Festival arc coming in number 3, and coming in number 2 is the cruise ship arc. The cruise ship arc was an arc that, I mean, it has its reasons as to why a lot of people know about this arc. Probably the infamous one is the whole thing that happened between Anakoji and Kei, when Anakoji told Kei to spread her legs. I think the reason why this arc is just something that a lot of people remember is because of that specific event that happened, which goes to my next point as to the reason why I believe this is an important arc and probably one of my favorite arcs, because we got to see sometimes Anakoji willing to take risks. This was something that Anakoji himself said, that he had a 50 and 50% chance that this might not work. This whole thing where he did with Kei, you know, him breaking Kei, not physically but mentally, telling Kei that he knew everything about her and that he knew all her dark secrets, was something that really just showed what Anakoji was going to do when he wanted results. Granted, this was a risky move, and even he himself stated that had Kei reported him about this incident, it would have been extremely difficult for him to get out of this whole situation without some sort of punishment, which is something that he didn't want that to happen, but he realized that he was taking a risk. Fortunately, Kei didn't report Anakoji, so therefore he didn't have to deal with that whole situation happening. So his plan worked, but it was a very risky plan to begin with. But because of this, we got to see some really huge character development towards Anakoji. We got to see that he's willing to take risks, that even he himself, when he's taking risks, he doesn't know what the outcome would be, which I think is really good, because sometimes people have a problem with characters being too powerful or too perfect. They sometimes lose interest, but not Anakoji. It's very clear that yes, he is smart and he's capable with a lot of things, but in terms of him taking risks, sometimes he tends to avoid that because he doesn't know what the outcome would be. So yeah, that's just one of the reasons why I enjoyed this arc. But I think the other reason why I also enjoyed this arc was because we got introduced to Kei, probably one of the best female characters in this series. I mean, this was pretty much the arc where we got introduced to her, and already I was interested in her character. Like, there's so many moments in her in this arc that you kind of want to know more about her, and this arc pretty much did all that. It made us not only care about Kei, but also very interested in her character as a whole. So yeah, cruise ship arc, probably one of the most memorable arcs in this series. But of course, there's another arc that really just was also great, and it's probably the one that I still remember even after finishing that whole arc. I still remember it, and I'm really excited to see what the anime is going to do with that arc, because I know the whole situation involving Anakoji and Kei, the whole spread your legs scene. I already know there's going to be a lot of people talking about it in the internet, but I think this arc as well is going to be talked about a whole lot, and it's probably going to break the internet. And coming in number 1 is the rooftop scene arc, or the Anakoji versus Ryuen arc. This arc really just was so interesting to read. It was so amazing to see what was going on between Anakoji, Ryuen, their fight, how it all happened, what Ryuen was going to do to lure in Anakoji, because at this point Ryuen was trying to figure out who was the mastermind of Class D, We all knew it was Anakoji, but of course the other people don't know that. And we got to see what Ryuen was willing to do to get this information, and he used K in order for him to get that info. I mean, the guy was willing to do anything to get K to spill the name of who the mastermind of Class D is, because he figured out that she had some sort of connection to the mastermind. And the way he did it was bringing back K's trauma, which was her being bullied consistently throughout her junior high. And Ryuen just used that as a way to get K to spill the information, which just shows us what Ryuen is willing to do to get information he wants. Not only that, but we also got to see moments with K as well. K was resisting what Ryuen was doing to her, even though she could have easily just said Anakoji's name. She did not. She did not, because it was at this point that she didn't mind working with Anakoji, which, I mean, this was a little foreshadowing as to what's to come in the later volumes, but it was very clear at this point that K was going to want to help Anakoji no matter what. Probably the biggest moment in this arc was Anakoji showing what he is capable of. This was the moment where Anakoji was legit pissed at what Ryuen was doing. Like, the face, the illustration that showed Anakoji literally being pissed, it was very clear that at this moment he was being serious. Like, he was actually going to go all out. And when Ryuen and his pals all tried to, beat up Anakoji just straight up used all his strength and was pretty much durable the entire time. Every time they tried to punch him, it pretty much felt like he didn't feel a thing, and his punches were straight up something that a lot of them were shocked by. The amount of force and the amount of impact that his punches had pretty much just showed that he was very strong. And to top it all off, the final fight between Ryuen and Anakoji, I mean, it was very clear that Anakoji was going to win, but the way he won, I mean, he just beat up Ryuen to the pulp. Like, there was no way Ryuen was going to be able to defeat Anakoji in this situation, and it just got to show you what Anakoji was capable of. It just got to show you that when Anakoji is serious, he is somebody you should not mess with. I mean, that face when he was angry and beating up Ryuen clearly showed that he was actually being angry. It wasn't just like, playing an act. No, he was legit being angry. And at that point, it was very clear that this was my favorite arc of the entire series. Probably one of the most memorable moments in this series, because we just got to see so much things involving Anakoji, his character, Ryuen as well, K. Just so much things happened that really just left an impact on me, and to this day I still remember everything that happened in this arc. So with that, that's why the rooftop arc, or the Anakoji vs. Ryuen arc, is at number 1. And that's pretty much it. I just want to talk about my favorite arcs in this series, because I mean, Classroom of the Elite has some really good arcs, and these 5 were probably the most memorable ones and the ones that I really enjoyed reading the most. And that's pretty much the entire video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.